Welcome back to the Undivide Project podcast, Changemakers edition. And I'm so excited for season 2, where we are focusing on BIPOC women changemakers. I'm your host, Monica Sanders, and I am here with the lovely Ashley Nussman Berry, who I'm going to allow to introduce herself. But for those of y'all who are new to the audience and the way that we do things, is we always respect people's sovereignty and narratives. And part of when you do introductions is sometimes you go through a person's resume and you pick what you think is the best part of their lives instead of allowing them to present the best part of who they want to be that day. And so on Tee Up, when we do the podcast, I never read a person's bio back to you. I just hand off to them and let them say to us what they want to know, what they want the audience to know about them on any day. So Ashley, take it away.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So I'm Ashley Berry. I am the founder of a Facebook group called Black Planters. We were founded in 2020. And yeah, that's basically me. That's what I do. I'm also a mother. So managing both of those is what I do.
And that's a lot. When we talk about centering women, we are all multi-hyphenates. I want to talk about how you started the Facebook group, because you started this in 2020. Was this before or after the pandemic started?
So it was, I guess, in the thick of it. There was all this racial unrest and there was a lot going on in the plant community. The plant community was like at its height, and in the groups, there were a lot of people who were upset because they were feeling very unheard, and especially people of color. So I was just like, okay, let's make a space that's for us where we can do our thing and talk about plants, but also relate and be able to discuss the issues, because a lot of people, they said it was too political, and yeah, it got kind of intense. So it was nice to have a place where we can go and be.
And just be, because you mentioned censorship.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask to unpack that word censorship. I said, well, there's a whole spectrum of things that could mean, particularly when we're talking about BIPOC folks. And so what did you mean when you put that down?
Yeah. So what was happening, it was pretty sad because, there were the shootings, all that was going on at that time, and everyone was shut indoors. So I guess that kind of intensified it even more. So in the plant groups, a lot of people, they wanted to speak out, and like everyone had a lot of emotions. So they wanted to speak out and be able to talk about this, because you can't, even though it's supposed to be just plants in the group, and that's what a lot of people were trying to keep, it was just plants. It was like there was too much going on to where it was like it was boiling over and there was this tension. So yeah, they weren't letting us post. Like people wanted to post planters that had names, George Floyd, all these names on them, or they wanted to raise money, sell plants and raise money for organizations, and they couldn't do that. Their posts were being denied. So it was nice to give them a place where they can post whatever they want and get those feelings out and connect. And yeah, we did it.
Well, congratulations. And I'm also just a bit aghast because we're talking about content moderation on the platforms that wasn't allowing people to post and to raise money to do social justice work. While at the same time, these platforms were making social justice pledges.
Yeah. Exactly.
That is what was going on. But out of this, there was an event called Sustainable Gardening Day that was born. And tell me how you got that organized. Is it still going on? And just how can we learn more about it?
Definitely. So it was cool because like we wanted to kind of reclaim our, like the gardening scene, because a lot of Black families, they were slaves and that was part of us. And so it was nice to kind of reclaim the gardening and sustainability efforts. And yeah, so it was kind of cool. So we decided to do that, and we're trying to make it, instead of just making it like a one-day thing or a weekly thing, we kind of want to figure out a way to do it every day. So yeah, we're working on some effort. So we're still hashing it out though, but yeah.
Well, then you should keep all of us posted. I'm sure the audience is going to follow you about how we can support that. I do want to go back to, what you just said about reclaiming outdoor space.
Definitely.
Because the history of particularly Black folks in this country is being brought here to garden for someone else's benefit. And So with emancipation came, I want to get as far away from that field as I
Yeah,
can because there's all sorts of trauma associated with
exactly.
and how do we reclaim
Yeah.
what we were before all of that?
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Beautifully said.
And it's when I see projects like yours, I get so excited because with that history came shame
Mm.
in being outside and
Yeah.
working and being connected to nature. But I'm curious what your opinion on this is that sometimes just the way that we have always been is sustainable. So I'm wondering what you
Yeah.
think about that.
I like that. Yeah. But getting out there and like I don't know, it's hard. Trying to convince people sometimes about like this is for us too. And that was another thing with the other groups is like we weren't being posted as much. We weren't being featured as much as some other people. We weren't getting that attention and that spotlight that people were needing. So it was kind of nice to like make our own group and take it somewhere else because it was like it kind of encouraged more people to do that and get into that and remember that this is part of us and kind of redo that. Especially a lot of us like in the cities and stuff like that. We're even more removed from that garden scene and getting out there in the soil. So it's kind of nice. We've been encouraging like at home gardens, like in the house, you can still do it or on your balcony or wherever you are. So yeah.
That 100% because I live in a condo, but
Mhm.
me and my neighbors have got like a container gardening collective going on. And as a community, we garden in our courtyard
Oh, I love that.
because it's just this big open space when
Yeah.
the thing was built. And I hope people will listen, will take ideas from this and advice from you. Because it's covered in concrete and just metal chairs like a courtyard. And no one
Mhm.
in Virginia is going to go and sit out there. So we just decided to start gardening.
Love that. See, yeah, it's definitely something to do because I'm from Oakland originally, and there's a lot of just empty lots and stuff like that. So another thing we want to do, and hopefully this year in the near future, probably we might have to push it back next year because I'm going to be a surrogate this year. But so I'm kind of taking a break from the scene, but I want to get down to Oakland and see my family, of course, but also take a look there. And we want to try to do some like community gardens and predominantly Black places. So I figure we should start in Oakland just because I'm a little biased since I'm from there. And there's just a lot of space there that can be turned into gardens and help some people because it's kind of a food desert right now. So
I want to talk about your upbringing in Oakland and the people inspired
yeah,
you. But before that, I hope that you can do that.
yeah,
And I'm going to call some things and people out
yeah,
because when we were chatting before the show, I pointed out, those of you all who listen and follow the Undivide Project, in my day job, I'm a lawyer. I
yeah,
do environmental justice work and I follow a lot of what the federal government is doing. Gardening is not defined under the law in a way that allows urban gardeners to take advantage of these federal programs that are agricultural programs. And there's work out there to redefine that so that people in Oakland, people in Baltimore,
yeah,
Houston, Detroit, all of these places that take over lots
yeah.
and turn them into something beautiful can get the appropriate resources and support.
Yeah.
And then also, did you tell me that other platforms aren't posting about Black gardeners? You mean there's been no Better Homes and Garden retweet?
Yeah, they're trying. I don't know. We're trying to push it and get out there, but yeah, that was definitely part of the reason why we got started because it was like when you would open up the pages, it was just other people. You didn't really see Black people doing it. And it's like, this is such a central part of who a lot of Black people are. So it was weird that we were missing from the scene. So,
Okay, my friends and colleagues who write for Forbes Sustainability, who
yeah.
write for Southern Living, who write for
Mhm.
Better Homes and Gardens that have digital
Yeah.
platforms, for Grist. When
Yes.
you hear this, and it's going to be in the show notes, and I'm going to repost when we put this out.
Yeah.
We all are Black women who are writing for these publications, so
Yeah.
we need to get on the job.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
space should be highlighted in our community, but other communities need to recognize our contributions. So I'm
Exactly.
going to put that out there on Buzzsprout and Apple Podcasts and everywhere just to say it's not right that
Yeah.
other people don't allow you to express yourself, but to recognize the contribution. All right. Now that is off my chest, let us discuss
I love it.
how Miss Ashley, your origin story, because it was family that inspired you to get into this, right?
Definitely. Yeah. My great grandma, she was like a big gardener plant person. So she definitely inspired me. She would have been 101 yesterday, Valentine's Day. So yeah, sadly she didn't make it to that, and I was lucky enough to have my great grandma and have her teach me about plants, and she'd be just watering her little plants and I wasn't really allowed to touch them, but I can look and watch and learn. So that was nice. And my mom, who was raised by her grandmother, she is a big gardener. We would take Bart and we would go from Oakland to San Francisco on Bart to little plant orchid shows, and she'd make us lug all these plants home. So it was a time. And then my dad, he's a big gardener. He has always had a garden. He grows everything, all kinds of vegetables. So I call him up all the time and ask him for advice on growing my own garden now. So it's been cool. I get to garden and pass that on to my babies, and I have them out in the garden with me. We're about to start this next season of our garden. So yeah.
That's amazing. And I love, again, we're talking about generational issues. And so I love this handing down and taking what you learned and passing it on to the next. Just curious, you have a plant room.
Yeah.
And you have a garden. So I want to know what's in the plant room.
Yeah, so the plant room is more just house plants. I import plants from all over the world. That's what I like to do. So I like to get little rare plants and grow them big. And I also have a greenhouse that I'm working on. So my greenhouse is still in the work. So we just want plants everywhere.
That's because I saw in your bio that you grow orchids.
Yeah, I like orchids. I like anthurium, philodendron. We like it all.
I love those. Now I have a philodendron and it's pretty hardy, but orchids seem to escape a lot of people in terms of.
I'm still learning. Orchids are like, I'm still dabbling. My mom is like the orchid just expert. Like that's why we would be going to the orchid shows, and she would go to weekly meetings and drag me along to her little weekly orchid meetings. So she's deep into the orchids. So I'm trying. One day.
That's amazing. Good luck. I'll keep my fingers crossed for you. I'm sure you're doing great. What's in the garden? What are you growing in your garden, or what are you about to grow in your garden?
Yes, I like to grow everything. I like to grow greens, and because my kids like greens a lot, we like tomatoes. I kind of just try to grow as much as I can because I want to hopefully one day just be able to just grow most of what we eat, because I'm basically vegan because I don't do eggs or dairy now. So yeah, so we try to grow mainly everything. My kids are vegetarian and my husband too. So yeah, it's nice.
And so building all of that, the sustainability benefits, nutritional benefits,
definitely
into one activity. And then there's the fun part of it. It sounds like you're doing it as a family.
Definitely fun. Yeah, my last garden last year, I flew my parents up here and they got to help me start. There was a Facebook. I was in the Facebook Accelerator program, and they came and they recorded me and they made a whole video in my plant room and in my garden and interviewed us about that. And it was cool. I got to have my family come up and help start the garden. It was my first garden at my new house. So it was pretty special.
It sounds like it's special, and it's so wonderful. And we'll hear the audio of this podcast first, but we always re-release them on our YouTube channel. So our followers will get to see the smile on your face talking about your family. A beautiful thing. And there's so much more than I could ever explain that's said in just getting to see that. You brought up mentorship in the Facebook Accelerator program. And I think it was Andrea Hudson, who you said was someone that had a particular impact on you. So I want to know about the program, but I also want to know about this relationship with Ms. Hudson and how someone that I visualize as being in the tech industry is promoting this gardening and this Black planters movement is what we're going to call it. We're going to call it a movement. Let's do that.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so I got this email one night and I thought it was a fake email, and I'm like, okay, let's open this and see what it is. And they invited me to be in this accelerator program. They recognized the Facebook group, and I was just like, okay, I don't know. I had a little bit of like imposter syndrome, and they kind of helped me get over that. And Andrea definitely helped me get over that. So I spent so long talking to her over Zoom, and she was just trying to give me direction on what we should do for Black planners to just kind of keep it going and keep it moving and keep the momentum. So yeah, Andrea is just, she's the real deal. She's just, yeah, I can't say enough good things about her. She's just so real, and just, I got lucky because they gave us each like someone to work with, and she was the one they chose for me. And yeah, the program, it helps teach you to kind of, I guess, monetize, and also like reach out to people on how to build your brand and make it more, and make it just more than just a Facebook group. And because Facebook said they recognize that this is what's keeping people on Facebook, is a lot of the groups, because people are building these communities and making these connections. So that's keeping people coming back to Facebook. So Facebook wanted to put money into that and help nurture that. So it was a great opportunity.
That sounds like a great opportunity. And also good on Facebook for recognizing that they needed to preserve those communities.
Yeah, because we got a lot of backlash for being only for Black people. So like a lot of other people of color wanted to be in the group, and I felt bad having to turn people away. But I was like, okay, this is your opportunity. You guys can make a space for yourself. And a lot of the other groups were predominantly white. So I was like, okay, you guys have your space. So yeah, it was cool. And it was cool that Facebook recognized that Black people, this was a legit thing, and Black people needed their group, and Facebook kind of gave us a little bit of protection, because a lot of people, they would report our group over and over, and Facebook's like, no, we're not taking you down just because some people are upset about it.
Wow. And so you were getting reports akin to what should have been done with some of these mis and disinformation campaigns. So they lumped in a Black space with dangerous to democracy reporting. I mean, that's what that's for. That's for like Russian bots and hate.
Yeah, and we definitely still do, but especially in 2020 and 2021, like in the early stages of the group, we got a lot of hate, and like I still get messages from people just like angry about the group and saying it's racist and all this, and just having to explain, just like constantly sending links and putting in a lot of effort trying to educate people, and not everyone's willing to be educated on why it's not racist to have this group, but it's worth a try, I guess.
And what are some of the things that you say to people? Because this is a helpful moment, because unfortunately we're sitting here talking with two Black women, and we see the lawsuits, we see the posts. Unfortunately, the skill set that we have to pick up, it seems, in the near future. So I'm curious, what were some of the things for the people who were willing to listen? What were some of the things that you shared with them?
Yeah, definitely. I have a list of all these links that I will send them, and they just tell people like why black spaces are important and why people need them. And yeah, and we definitely talk to them about like, they're like, oh, it's racist, why you don't let white people into your group. And I'm just like, it's not racist, because we need these spaces. We weren't being heard, and we're not able to post in a lot of the groups and talk about what we want to talk about. They were saying it was too political, and our existence was political to them. So it's just like, okay, like we need these spaces if you guys don't want us to talk about it here. And it was interesting, a lot of these people wanting to be in our group. If they don't want us talking about that stuff, then why try to get in a group where we're talking about it? So it was interesting.
A lot of intellectual incongruence going on. I mean, thank you for sharing that, and for the answer, because that gets us into the importance of this space. And we're talking more broadly about the climate justice space. It's like, where do you think we need to carry this?
As far as possible. Because we want to do the community gardens. We want to start with like teaching the kids. I definitely want to get more into like the kids in the school and helping them be more sustainable and growing their own foods, and encouraging the young gardeners, because that's who we're going to be passing it down to, and they're going to be the ones who inherit this Earth, and yeah, because it's needing to be saved. So I think it's very important that we get into that.
How many is Black Planners, the Facebook group? Anyone
Yeah.
can join it.
Yeah.
Anyone who fits the parameters can join
Yeah.
it. Let me not invite a whole nother round of controversy. But in terms of your projects in the communities, are you working just in California now, or are you working in other places? Like, how are you going to spread this?
Yeah. So last year we had our first Black Planners meetup, and it was in Atlanta, Georgia, because that's where a lot of our people seem to be. So I got my family, we flew out to Atlanta. I got my mom to fly out, and I got to meet the other Black Planner admins. There are 4 of us, and I'd never met them before in my life, and it was cool. That's just the connections that we get to make in the group, which is awesome. And so we got to meet up and we got to talk about it, and we had some speakers. One speaker in particular, she spoke about her garden in Atlanta, and she just has a fabulous garden. She's amazing. And then we actually had this man who is a botanist, and he got to speak, and he just had like a wealth of knowledge. And yeah, so we had some awesome speakers who were just talking to the people. And so next we want to do Detroit. I think they're the next one, and then New York. So we're trying to spread out and hit the predominantly Black areas and hopefully take over and just get more people out there growing and getting some plants and loving it.
I love that. I haven't been to Atlanta,
Yeah.
but one of the partners that we do community work with, if you come to DC, you should check out Soilful City.
Nice.
And they host workshops and have seed exchanges, because some people
love
don't
that.
even know where to go get seeds or how to start
Yeah.
planting seeds.
Oh, I love that. That is so awesome. Yeah, Andrea recommended DC. We almost went to DC, but I need to get our Black Planner numbers up there so we can do that.
It is, I found them by happenstance. So there is a need for organizing. But last year, and I love this, they had what was called Watermelon Festival, intentionally to take back narratives around Black people in watermelon. And a lot of people came.
I love that so much.
So yeah, you should check that out, because that might be that was the most I had seen in one place.
I love that. Yeah, we definitely have to check that out. That would have been something cool to discuss in Black Planters. Definitely.
And in that, and I learned, and I'm wondering if you've experienced this, or if you teach about it, that I didn't know that rice and yams came with us.
Oh, wow.
They are not indigenous to this country, that they came with us.
Yeah, I love that. See, that's what I need to do some more of for Black History Month, especially. I need to be working on that in the group and teaching people about that. So I love that you said that.
Yeah, because, the BuzzFeed joke, my little mind was blown, I was today years old. I had seen it on social media, but I thought it was just, TikTokers.
Yeah.
But actually there was a food historian there and a botanist, and explained that just as certain people were taken from places with their skill as doing like metalworking and construction, certain people were taken because of their agricultural skills, and the crops were brought together. So some people were brought here with rice to grow rice.
Oh my goodness. See, so it makes it even more important that we're trying to reclaim this whole gardening and sustainability movement. I love that.
Yeah. And so that was powerful for me to know that we were the progenitors of that, talking about unheard stories. So I want to know some names. So tell me the name of this botanist, because I think that people need to, just like, knowing your name, I think they need to know the name of somewhere out there, kids, is a Black botanist whose work you should be reading.
No, you know what? My mind just totally went blank, and I'm gonna have to look up his name because he is amazing. I mainly just call them by their Instagram handles because that's how I found them, is on Instagram, is just putting in a lot of legwork. And I totally remember. He is the chocolate botanist on Instagram, and that's kind of what he wanted to go by. So he is amazing. And then the girl who spoke, and she has her little like Instagram gardening series. Her name, she goes by Kay, But she also has what is her, I don't know her little official name. I have to see. She goes by Mance Life on Instagram, but she is awesome because she is trying to do like a homestead. So, which I totally want to get into is the whole homestead kind of thing. So I like following people. Oh, so she's Elevate Farms. So she has an LLC. So she's Elevate Farms.
Okay, the chocolate botanist.
Yeah.
Elevate Farms.
Yeah.
And please educate me, what's a homestead?
Yeah, so homestead is basically you're trying to do everything from home. So some people, they'll go and they'll get like chickens and cows, but you don't have to do all that. But yeah, they try to get some land. So owning land is important. We want to try to encourage people to do that if they can, if it's within their means, and just grow and just, yeah, try to lessen, I guess, your impact on like the world, the outside world, like buying all this processed food and stuff. You can grow it in your yard, then yeah, you're encouraged to do so.
Okay. That's interesting. I'd never heard that term before, but as soon as you said it, an image of my grandparents, just like your grandparents, just popped in my head. I was like, oh, that was a homestead that they had.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's definitely, that's another thing, taking it from what they were doing in the past. It's kind of going back to our roots and growing our own food.
Yeah, and I do want to connect this to climate justice because the conversation about climate justice is slowly but surely getting down to the neighborhood level.
Yeah.
And nothing against the IPCC. Listen, I'm participating in one of those reports, so I'm not being ungrateful, but it is highly scientific and driven in like technical language. It makes it really hard for people to access and know what they're supposed to be doing. But this is climate justice, what you're talking about.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Because I'm trying to go through what you've helped me understand in the last couple of minutes is that we're reducing food insecurity.
Yeah, and like a lot of people who are in the food deserts. So it's getting them some food and reducing waste. A lot of it becomes waste.
Yeah, it becomes food waste, which is number 3 after the defense industry, the fashion industry.
Oh, wow.
Number 3 in terms of emissions.
Wow. See,
most of it comes from the United States. So that's a big one to reduce waste. You talked about sustainability and not just reducing food waste, but when you grow your own things, you don't go to the grocery store and buy stuff and all that packaging.
A lot of packaging goes into the foods. And that's how I grew up. Like, my mom wasn't too big of a cook, and my parents, they divorced. So my dad, he was the one who was the cook and the gardener, but my mom was more into just houseplants, and she wasn't a big cook. She's an RN, she's a nurse, and she just didn't have enough time. So we would be eating a lot of fast food, and it wasn't the healthiest what we were doing. So yeah, it's kind of nice to change that and try to reduce my carbon footprint.
Yeah, because there's a transportation that goes with it. Because when you said that homestead, I thought about it. I was like, oh yeah, when I go visit my grandparents, we had parked the car and it would sit there for days because everything we needed, including a place to exercise, was all right there.
Exactly. So yeah, the homesteads are a lovely idea. It's becoming really big in the Black community.
And also when we're talking about not being welcome in spaces, there's a reason why a lot of us don't want to go back to the office, why we like this hybrid work.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, the idea of homesteading and really just sort of removing yourself from spaces that aren't healthy for you and creating healthy spaces. I can see the action.
Exactly.
In doing that. And then the last piece of it that I'm getting from you from this whole thing is, particularly since we're talking about a space created from social medias, there's all kinds of hashtags and spaces created about our joy. But there hasn't been a moment of this interview, at least for me, that hasn't been filled with joy. And so there's a part of it that has a lot of love and joy in it too.
Yes, I love that. Definitely a lot of joy, a lot of passion.
All right. Ashley, thank you so much for giving me part of your early afternoon because we're on two different coasts. Tell us all the places we know about the Facebook group. Tell us all the places where we can follow your work and keep up with you.
Definitely. I'm on Instagram. I'm Melanin Planter. LinkedIn. I'm not really too big on that, but I'm trying. Andrea got me into LinkedIn, so I need to get on that some more. But yeah, I've been interviewed by a few magazines, so definitely try to look out for those. You were talking about Better Homes and Gardens. They actually had interviewed me for that, and Spruce, so a few other things. So definitely look out for some articles out there. And yeah.
Wonderful. I hope some of my colleagues will also interview you.
Yeah.
And thank you for that. And this podcast is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts. Anywhere you look for your podcast, you can find the Undivide Project Changemakers Edition. And you can follow our community and all of our fellow travelers at Undivide Project on all socials and our website, undivideproject.org. Until next time, where we'll be tackling, is Bitcoin really unsustainable? And maybe women have something to say about how it could be. And then we'll also talk about going from protester to climate leader at the WEF. So lots more to come on this season 2 of our podcast. Thanks so much again to you, Ms. Ashley Berry, for joining us. And we'll see you soon. And audience, talk to you next week.